Last year, Indiana played in both the in-season tournament championship game and the conference finals. This year, they've been already eliminated from the Emirates NBA Cup, and with the Cavs, Celtics, Magic, Bucks, and Knicks around the corner, reaching the top of the East might be almost impossible. The man held responsible for both scenarios, Tyrese Haliburton. In his last 5 games, Hallie's been good. 34 points against the Pelicans, 28 versus Portland, 19 versus Detroit, then he sucked against Memphis with 8 points, and goes off for 30 in Toronto. But before this stretch, everyone was asking the same question. What's going on with him? The man started the season looking like anything but his former self. Last season, he eliminated Boston hitting an and 1-3, and then in the next game, iced another one over Brook Lopez. In those 2 games, he scored 53 points and had 28 assists with 0 turnovers. How good was that? Unfortunately, that version of Haliburton went missing at the start of the 2024 and 25 NBA season. He's averaging 15 points per game on a disappointing 38% from the field, making him one of the worst players this season on 35+ minutes per game. So what is the reason for all of this? That's exactly what we're talking about in today's video. Hello basketball fans and welcome to Hoop Vision. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Takes only a second, costs nothing, and will give you access to more basketball stories. Some analysts are saying there's nothing surprising about Haliburton this year. They think last season was a fluke, just a one-hit wonder. Their argument is that this is the true Tyrese Haliburton, and we should get used to seeing more of mediocre basketball from him. What many people don't know is that Hallie has been underestimated for his entire life. In high school, the football coach asked him to switch sports, but Tyrese replied with a counter. If he didn't receive any D1 offers in 30 days, he'd quit basketball. That's how much he believed in himself, and just like in a movie, the offer came. It was the IUI, a really small school, but at least he now had a starting point. From then, Ty won Gatorade Player of the Year award, but still sparked no interest from top 150 ranked universities. To his fortune, that proved to be destiny in the making. Iowa State took him, and just as the season started, their main point guard had to take a break due to injury. This meant a starting spot for Haliburton, more minutes, and more opportunity to prove himself. As you can see, Tyrese took it, earning the chance to enlist for the NBA draft just after his sophomore year, where people looked at him as a top pick, but some executives thought different. For some, he was too skinny. Others thought he wasn't effective enough at the rim, while everyone agreed his shot was awkward by all the basketball standards. Still, Haliburton ended up being passed on by 11 teams before Sacramento took him, including Wolves and Golden State. The Wolves are okay with that decision since they drafted Edwards, but the Warriors regret it to this day. Instead of him, they wasted the 2nd pick on James Wiseman, who's one of the biggest busts and might be out of the league soon. Steve Kerr himself said how much he regrets not taking him. When someone like that praises you, that means a lot. However, right now, many teams are questioning Hallie's worth. Some of them even think they were right all along, but were they? First, we have to back up a little. If you remember, Tyrese was about to sign a new contract last year, and getting an All-NBA recognition would cash him in an additional $40 million. But the hamstring injury Hallie suffered in the middle of the season put all that money in danger. Why? Because making the All-NBA team required playing in at least 65 games, and that's what made all the difference. You see, this hamstring injury took him away for the stretch of 10 games, but the reports said he was supposed to take a much longer break. The fear of losing $40 million could make anyone rush coming back, which is exactly what happened. Before the injury, he was averaging 24 points on 50% from the field and 40% from downtown. After coming back, all of his numbers dropped significantly. This year feels pretty much the same. Lower stats and the lack of Ty's ability to carry the offense are a problem for Indiana. Hamstring injury is messed up for a player like him because he needs that quickness to separate himself from the defender, and now he can't do that as before. This limits him in more ways than one. Can't create space without a screen, no off the dribble step back threes, no everything we've gotten used to from Hallie. Also, the confidence factor must be playing a huge part in his shooting. Last year, he was terrorizing teams with that flick of a wrist. Now, quite the opposite. The Pacers were supposed to be the Bucks' antidote last season, taking the regular Series 4-1 and also beating them in the playoffs. But this year, Andre Jackson Jr. locked Hallie like it was nothing. He ended up that night with a -18 efficiency rating, leaving everyone scratching their heads. Also, he's been averaging only 12 points per game when playing road games. That's pretty bad for a franchise player, so maybe the Pacers could bring along his mattress players when traveling. Judging by how things are now, they'd be glad to do so if it meant improvement. Compared to last season, the situation is disappointing at least. At the moment, they're 10th in the East, which isn't the end of the world because we're still early in the season, but it's better to work on adjustments as soon as possible. To be fair, they're dealing with plenty of injuries, so the roster isn't at its 100%, but this is where your franchise player is supposed to step up and carry the team. The problem is Tyrese is paid like an MVP, but he's not been playing like one. If you don't know, the new CBA punishes every organization that overpays their players. So if you get a guy max money and he turns into Tobias Harris, good luck winning for the next 3 to 5 years. The Pacers are actually not a bad team. Pascal Siakam is legit, TJ McConnell is also a great playmaker, and other guys are good as well. But no amount of depth can replace your #1 option. Last year, Indiana was the #2 offense in the league. This year, 16th. They need their star, and they need him badly, which begs the question, why doesn't Haliburton step up already? The answer to that question might be more than obvious. When you take a look back at the last season, this is how things played out. Haliburton gets injured, goes on a break, comes back, makes All-NBA. The Pacers beat the Bucks in 6 and then muscled through the Knicks in 7 games. Boston did sweep them, but Tyrese's hamstring betrayed him for the second time in Game 2, ending the series for him, making it even more unfair for Indiana. Team USA invites him for the Olympics. At the end of the day, he just went to the conference finals for the first time, and he's going to play for the Olympics? How do you say no to that? As you know, Kerr benched him for 3 out of 5 games in Paris, and everyone thought it had something to do with their relationship or other reasons. But the real reason was Tyrese was still injured. The medical staff never disclosed the full scope of it, labeling it as just a leg injury. But come on, we all know what it was. Haliburton's hamstring was hurt 3 times within a couple of months. The dude basically played with one healthy leg. The reason he dealt badly with this issue was everything good that's happened to him last season happened for the first time in his career. There was no way he was turning down the opportunity, regardless of how injured he was. Unfortunately for the Pacers, that's showing this season, and they're suffering the consequences. Luckily for the Pacers, the problem could be easy to fix. Just give him some time off, despite it could mean losing some games. If Tyrese comes back at his best, they'll catch up easily, and it's not like their life depends on this season. It could be the cornerstone of their franchise for years. But they must play this smart or risk ruining his career. We all know how injuries can destroy players and leave fan bases wondering what if. Just ask the Bulls and D-Rose or the Blazers and Brandon Roy. If they continue to play him without addressing the hamstring issue, the Pacers are on their way of hurting themselves even more in the long run. But if they let him heal and come back 100%, we might see the traces of last year's Haliburton before the season is over. That's it for today, Hoop Fam. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Let us know in the comments if you think Hallie was a fluke or he'll come back stronger. Thank you for watching and growing this channel. Make sure you don't miss out on more NBA stories by hitting that subscribe button. See you in the next one.